everybody. Welcome to Flute Friday. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday so far. If you're here, go ahead and say hello. I'd love to know that you're here. It is Friday, July 10th. It's a beautiful day here in Long Beach, California. Nice and warm. I've got the air conditioning going, so we're good to go. And I'm here today to play a bunch of my flute favorites for you. And I have a special guest. Sandy Kip Isles is going to be here to talk about flute stuff and just enjoy everything with me today. So I hope you're ready for some fun. So again, just feel free to say hello, give me a thumbs up if you're here, or a wave, or tell me what's going on. I know we've had kind of a busy couple of months. I haven't been on my Flute Fridays for a couple of months. I took a little bit of a break and did some other projects, but I thought I'd come back for a little fun for today. So hi Mom, hi Aunt Sherry, hi Sandy, you guys are here. So I have lots of fun music. This is an easygoing, easy listening concert tonight. I think there's something for everybody, and I hope you enjoy it. So for my first piece, I thought what I would do is start with a couple little arrangements from Last Resort. This is the Ravel Rigodon, which is from Tombeau de Couperin, a bigger suite of piano music. And we used to play this all the time with my woodwind quintet, so it kind of has a little bit of a place in my heart. And we've got flute quartet. All the parts are played by me, recorded previously, except for the first part, which I'm going to play now for you. So I hope you enjoy this first piece. Turn that up a little so I can hear it. I think that's up. Fantastic. So that's the first little piece there. We've got lots of short little fun pieces for you today. The next piece I have is also by Ravel, and it's also one of the collections of quartets that I played. Oh, hi Jenny, and hi Jenny's dad, John, and we've got some other people. Oh, increase your volume. Yes, I don't know if that was for, let me check this one more time. We'll do a little sound check here. I know that the intro music for that was a little soft because it was just kind of being background music, but hopefully that's loud enough. But please let me know if that doesn't work. I'm happy to play a little louder there. And Sandy, you can tell me too if the volume is not loud enough. So we'll see how that goes. The first piece was by Ravel, and I picked another piece by Ravel, which I think shows how varied he is as a composer. So you had that nice kind of light piece, and then you have this next piece, which is taken from another suite, a piano suite, and it's called Le Jardin Féerique. And it's translates to the fairy garden. And I think this piece is beautiful in that you can kind of hear the beauty of the garden, and then there's very hopefulness at the end. Okay, so everybody wants more sound, more sound. Overall, my voice is quiet. Okay, I'm turning it up. It's so funny. I did a sound check, I promise. Promise. All right, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to let me know how that all works sound-wise. I'll just keep kind of talking and riffing here for a minute. Hi everyone, hi Adrian. I'm gonna play Adrian's piece later on. That'll be fantastic. I am working on the volume, so let's see. Tell me if this is better before I play my next piece. Let me just do a little sound check here. Voice is good, could use more flute. Awesome, okay, let's see. I think this will do it. I turned the microphone up a little and I turned the computer up. So let's give this a go. This fairy garden I love. It's a little small, so I'm going to put my glasses on. Too much staring at a computer screen for me, so I'm wearing glasses now. Again, this is one of those flute quartet pieces that I recorded all the other parts, and I'm going to play the top part with it. This is really one of my most favorite pieces. Hope you enjoy it. That piece. It's so beautiful. You can really picture a fairy garden. You walk into the garden and you can see that it's beautiful, and then you kind of just take it all in, and then it's very hopeful at the end, which I really like about that piece. So those are my first two pieces there. Again, I played all of the parts previously recorded on them. And so now we're ready for some fun. Are you ready for some fun? This whole thing is fun. But we're going to get out the big flute. Ever since I started the first Flute Friday, and I played the Claude Bowling Suite, which actually has a movement for bass flute, I've been trying to find another reason to get out the bass flute, and I thought you might like it. Everybody always asks about it. This is a bass flute. It's one octave lower than a regular flute. Kind of low and sultry sounding. It's really, really beautiful. And so when I was digging through my repertoire to find something for bass flute, I almost pulled out the Bowling Suite, but I remembered that I had a piece by Alex Shapiro that I had played on my Dreams of Birds album, and I thought I would play that today. So here we have a little bit about Alex Shapiro. This is taken from her website. I first met or ran into Alex or heard of her while I was at a flute quartet concert, the LA Flute Quartet, and they played a piece by her called Bioplasm, which is all neat with kind of fun sounds and colors and everything. And then I really started listening to some of her other works. I actually performed her piece Shiny Kiss on my very first album, which is for solo flute. And this is what she said. This is what her bio says from her website. Composer Alex Shapiro aligns note after note with the hope that at least a few of them will actually sound good next to each other. Her persistence at this activity, as well as nonfiction music writing, arts advocacy, public speaking, wildlife photography, and the shameless instigation of insufferable puns on Facebook, has led to a happy life. Drawing from a broad musical palette that giddily ignores genre, Alex's acoustic and electroacoustic works are published by Activist Music, performed and broadcast daily, and can be found on nearly 30 commercial releases from record labels around the world. One of those, which is mine, the Delos record, Dreams of Birds. So she wrote this intermezzo. It was originally for bass, clarinet, and piano. And then I had her write it for bass, flute, and piano. And her program notes for this is that it's composed as a response to the waves of the ocean, as a reflection on the flow of more introspective emotional sea. A long lyrical theme floats above a steady rolling line, perhaps as a lengthy branch of kelp might dance from the force of each coming tide. So it's a really kind of lovely piece. I hope you enjoy the color of it. As you can see by the titles there. I'm lucky enough to have Dan Kelly join me again virtually on piano. So he recorded the piano part for me. And let's get that here. Let's see here. And I will see if I can adjust. I see we're still having some sound stuff, maybe a little too loud on the accompaniment. Okay, I will listen for that. Here we have Intermezzo by Alex Shapiro. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. This is so much fun to be here. Yeah, I just want want to share my music with you. I know we're all starting to get stuck back at home, so here you have a concert live at home for yourselves. Hope you're enjoying it. Maybe you're making dinner, maybe you're eating dinner, maybe you're getting ready for bed, depending on where you are. So I hope you enjoy it. I have my special guest is here again today. I'm so excited. So I'm going to welcome Sandy Kip Isles to join me. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Hi, Jenny. I'm good. Thanks for having me back. How fun.
Of course.
This is great. If you notice, I am in not my normal room. I'm in a room full of trombones because the better camera and better mic are over here. So,
well, we won't hold it against you.
Very sweet of you. I appreciate that.
And of course, most of you probably know, if you don't, Sandy's husband, Alex, is a well-known trombone player, and we played together in Long Beach Symphony, and of course, it's in the studios as well. He's fantastic. He was the first trombonist to ever play for my child. He played right in his face, and then, of course, my child wanted to play the trombone, so there you go.
Does he play trombone still?
He does not. He never started because he was too little at the time. So, but he loves the trombone. So we'll see how that goes. We're starting on piano. It's a little more.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a little easier start for everybody.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, did you enjoy the bass flute piece? Had you heard that one before?
I have not heard that. It's a beautiful piece.
It's just kind
absolutely
of a
gorgeous
wash of sound. You really can picture the ocean and the kelp and, you know, kind of like being in the aquarium and seeing everything kind of slowly moving back and forth with the tide. And
oh yeah, I mean, it sounds very programmatic to me, which a lot of your pieces are today. Just the images that it brings up. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Good.
Really beautiful.
Now, do you have a favorite auxiliary instrument? We have piccolos and we have flutes and altos and basses. What's your favorite?
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. My favorite to play is piccolo. I've always loved piccolo. In fact, in college, I think I was more comfortable on piccolo than I was on flute for a while, and all my first professional work in orchestras was on piccolo. But my favorite to listen to is probably alto, just because it's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. Yeah, the bass flute is beautiful, but it's very low and sometimes a little harder for me to hear. I agree. I love the alto flute. But I'm the same as you. I feel like there have been times in my life where I'm much more comfortable on piccolo. And I had a piccolo Friday. I had the second Flute Friday was a piccolo day. So,
oh, that's right. Yeah. How fun. I mean, a lot of it depends, I think, on the piccolo that you have. But in college, I just loved, I think what it was is when I first got into the wind ensemble at Cal State Northridge, I was like last chair flute. And the next year, I would have maybe been midway through the section, but I won the piccolo chair. So I suddenly was getting noticed. I think piccolo can get you noticed even if there's other flute players around you that, you know, there were the flute players that were just more advanced and more professional, and I wasn't going to beat them for first chair, but I got a reputation on piccolo, and it really helped. It really helped a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think my career was kind of the same. I was always happy to play piccolo. Always liked playing piccolo. Whenever I do kids concerts, we do those Long Beach Symphony kids concerts for the fourth and fifth graders, like 1,000 of them, or however many there are at a time. And right before we went into quarantine, I was actually reaching out. I went to some of the schools and did some mini concerts for them. And I was holding the piccolo, and I was like, this instrument can obliterate the entire orchestra. This little thing right here, like, you can hear me.
You know, it's funny. I used to do kind of the opposite when I used to do kiddie concerts in chamber groups. You know, we would do those assemblies at junior high schools and elementary school where they bring in 500 kids in the gym. And we'd be up on stage, and when we would go through each of our instruments, I would take the piccolo and I'd go into the audience and I'd say, you know, this instrument is so small. I need you all to be really, really, really quiet, or you may not even hear it. And then I'd play like a high A,
right?
And then you hear 500 kids scream. It was so worth it.
Totally.
The chaos it created. I loved it.
Totally. Well, I don't know if you're following who's going on, but who's on here, but Adrienne Albert's here. We're going to hear a piece from her. Dan Higgins checked in. So hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi, Dan.
Nice to see
Hi,
you.
Adrienne.
And then Terry Silvera and I went to, was that college? I think it was college. I kind of get college and high school mixed up, but I think it was college. We went to college together. It was kind of a big blur in Central.
First, and college came later.
But they just all blurred together. It was like kind of in the same area of California, so I forget. But I think Terry was definitely college. I believe that it was college. So sorry, Terry. I do remember he's a trumpet player. Fantastic. I think he teaches music now, like instrumental music. So Awesome. Well, can you take the show for a minute while I switch over flutes and grab a drink of water and tell us about the next couple pieces?
Absolutely, I would love to. I get to become your pre-concert lecturer. I love it. So Jenny's going to play two pieces, two short pieces of Debussy. She's going to put them together because they're short and absolutely beautiful. So I thought I would tell you just a little bit about Debussy. Certainly not a lecture on Debussy, but just sometimes it makes it a little bit more interesting. I'm always telling my students, if you don't know anything about the composer who created the piece, you might be missing something about the artistry of the piece. So Claude Debussy, as you all know, is French. He was born in 1862 and died of cancer, unfortunately, in 1918 when he was 55 years old. He's one of the most influential composers of the late 19th century and early 20th century, and of course is described as an impressionist composer, which I don't know if you know this, but both he and Ravel did not like that term. They thought it was derogatory. In fact, in a letter in 1908, Debussy wrote, he was working on his piece Image, and he wrote, "Imbeciles call what I'm trying to write in Image impressionism, a term employed with the utmost inaccuracy, especially by art critics who use it as a label to stick on Turner, the finest creator of mystery in the whole of art." Turner was an English romantic painter, so he didn't like that. Debussy went to the Paris Conservatory, studied both piano and composition, and wrote, as we all know, a lot of programmatic music, which means music that either tells a story, paints a picture, or is inspired by poetry or prose. And for us, Afternoon of a Faun is probably the best example of programmatic music. Jenny's going to play two pieces of Debussy, the Golliwogg's Cakewalk and The Girl with the Flaxen Hair. The Golliwogg's Cakewalk is the sixth and last movement of the solo piano suite called Children's Corner, which he dedicated to his daughter Emma. In this piece, each of the movements depicts a toy that comes to life. Now, I don't know about you, but that either brings images of the movie Toy Story or Chucky. So it kind of depends on where you are about toys coming to life. He did write in the dedication to his daughter, who he called Shushu, which was a term of infection, not infection, but affection. He said, "To my dear little Shushu, with tender apologies from her father for what follows," which I thought was kind of funny. Cakewalk, you've heard the term, that takes the cake. That's kind of where this came from. A cakewalk was a dance where the dancer with the most elaborate steps won a cake. Pretty cool. So in this piece, it has kind of a feeling of ragtime and satirical hints of Wagner's Tristan and Isolde. Did you know this, Jenny? Pretty interesting.
No.
And then a gollywog referred to a doll that was depicted in a painting in 1895 by Florence Kate Upton. Florence had this doll when she was a kid. She loved this doll, and so she based a story on it and had this illustration made. And Debussy simply loved the doll. And The Girl with the Flaxen Hair, notice I'm not saying it in French, is the eighth piece in his first book of piano preludes. And it's based on a poem depicting a girl with golden hair and lips like cherries and the boy who loves her. This piece, of course, has been arranged for every instrument that can play a beautiful tone and some that can't. Take it away, Jenny.
I like that. Thank you, Sandy. All right, here we have, and you see again that these are also all arranged by Daniel Kelly and published by Last Resort Music. And again, I picked these two pieces by Debussy. Well, Daniel Kelly picked these two pieces to be in his book, but I thought they're just a great contrast in sound. You'll see how different this one is from the one you just heard. So the girl with the flaxen hair. To welcome back to Sandy Kip Isles. Let's see if I can find the right screen. Oh, I'll just add you to this one. Okay, here we go. There we go. And let's see, we have Stephen Cruz. Stephen's there, and Peter. Oh, thank you guys. And Jack. Hi, Jack. Awesome. Awesome. Nice to see everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying this. We're having fun doing it. It just, you know, I could record myself and put it online, but everybody's doing that. Like, you just want to see live. You want to see people in the moment. You want to have the energy, and you don't get that from just a recording. So here we are, and we've got Sandy. I mean, she's the best, right, everybody? She's the best.
So hey, Jenny, you're too young to remember, but anybody who's listening that remembers Romper Room.
I remember Romper Room, and they called your name?
Yes, because every time you say, we have Stephen, and we have Peter, and I see Sal and Adrian, and if you know Romper Room, you'll know what we're talking about. But I used to sit on the floor and wait for her to see me.
Yeah,
and she never saw me.
She never did. Oh, of course. I had Jenny. I mean, so in the 80s, everybody was named Jenny.
And so she probably saw you a lot.
Saw me all the time. But I still remember how good it feels, right? So that's why, and I remember that the first couple times I felt weird calling people out and saying it, but as I've watched other live performances, it's kind of nice to be recognized. Like, there's Jenny Brandon. Jenny, I opened up, I don't know if you caught the very beginning, but we had your Dreams of Birds as intro music. Just last minute. So there we go. And yeah, so it's nice to see everybody. It's nice to say their names. So
absolutely, I think it's really cool. And really quickly, I didn't mention this, and maybe it's obvious, but I didn't know this for a long time. The girl with the flaxen hair, flax was, when people ask, does this have anything to do with flaxseed? It did refer to straw. That's why girls with flaxen hair,
like us,
they had hair the color of straw. Hopefully not the texture of straw, but
we go for softness, even if it looks like straw.
Yes, exactly. And that was beautiful. Thank you for performing that. That was beautiful.
Well, like I said, we were talking before. I there's so much great music out there, and as I've been home so much more in the last few months, looking through my library at all these different pieces, I have realized there's so many pieces my favorite pieces that I haven't gotten a chance to play. And I thought this would be a good time for us to talk about there are some flute players watching, to say what else that we think that every flute player should play and should be able to perform. So what are your top 5 or 6 pieces that you think every flute player should know?
That's a really good question. And of course, it always depends on if you're talking certain age groups, if you're talking high school or college or professional. It depends on if you're talking for, an audience that just wants to hear beautiful music or something that would be challenging. But I think I have 5 pieces that all flute players should be able to play or teach. And those would be Mozart concerto. I prefer the G, but G or D. So Mozart, I'm going to say Mozart G, the Bach Partita. I'm really big on Bach, and all the sonatas are great, but since we can do that without piano, it's a really good one to have under your fingers. Hate to tell you, but Chaminade Concertino.
I
You
love it.
have to be able to play it, and you have to be able to teach it because, first off, it's one of the best pieces in the French book. It is a fantastic piece. It can be used for concerto competitions, which a lot of people don't realize. There's a great orchestral accompaniment, and as you mentioned earlier, there's a wind ensemble accompaniment. It has everything in it that a flute player should be able to do in terms of scales and arpeggios and triple tonguing, and it's a great piece. The Ibert Concerto, and then I would say the Poulenc Sonata or Prokofiev.
Yeah.
So for me, Chaminade, Ibert, Mozart, Bach Partita, and the Poulenc or Prokofiev.
Definitely. And we were talking, I love the Ibert. It's one of my favorites. I played that for many a concerto competition and did that one a lot. I would add to that, I love the Due to You is one of my favorites. I like my students, my advanced students, to learn that. And then, of course, some sort of theme and variations, whether it's the Carnival of Venice or the Carmen, because I feel like especially those intermediate to advanced students, it sounds flashy. And those are great ones to just pull out at the end of a recital or in a recital to kind of be flashy and fun. Yeah.
And they're fun to play. And even if you just, like, I like the Schubert variations too. Even if you're not really working on it to perform it, it's just such great work for your fingers. Just take it out and just play through it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think those are wonderful choices.
Well, speaking of work for your fingers, would you like to introduce the next piece?
Sure, absolutely. So next, Jenny is going to choose something from the French book. And even though I already said I think the Chaminade is the best piece in there, I guess I'm saying compositionally because there are so many pieces in there. I love the Bousset and I love the Ionesco and well, I love all of them. She's going to do the Andante and Scherzo of the Louis Gone.
Uh-oh. We froze for a second. We lost Sandy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you are. There, you're back. You're back.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, sorry. I just stopped talking for a second. I was pondering. Yeah, so Jenny's going to play the Andante and Scherzo by Louis Gone. So if you don't know much about Gone, I didn't know much about him, but I looked him up a little bit just to be able to mention a few things to you. French, of course, composer and conductor. Born in 1862, which is the same year as Debussy, which I thought was interesting. Died in 1923. He also studied Paris Conservatory. Can we just ask the question, who did not study at the Paris Conservatory, if they were a European musician at that time? He composed operas and ballets and marches. Now that I thought was really interesting, so I went on YouTube to listen to a Louis Gone march, and they're really cool. At least March Lorraine is a really great march if you want to listen to it. This piece of his, like all of them in the French book, was written for a concert contest piece for the Paris Conservatory. So it was the contest piece in 1901 and dedicated to Paul Toffanel, who taught there at the time. So Jenny, go for it.
All right, thank you, Sandy. Let's go here. Where's that? There it is. Choose my slide. And today I'm accompanied by Smart Music, so cross your fingers. You never know. challenge playing without a real person. I'm going to bring you back, Sandy. You're coming back.
Woohoo! It's a real challenge because you don't have someone that you can react to and someone that will react to you. Notice Jenny does all the playing on the show, not me.
Well, it's so, you know, I love smart music and it's a great tool and it has been fun to be able to play all this stuff. But yeah, sometimes it's a guessing game, and especially when you're playing and you're performing and the nerves are making you go a little faster, but you're trying to wait, like, how long am I keeping my steady tempo with those 6 bars? But it's fun.
No, you played it absolutely beautifully, and you really do well with smart music. It's kind of amazing. You know, this is the first piece of the French book that I did play, and my teacher who assigned it to me at the time was trying to make a point because I shouldn't have been playing the piece. I wasn't ready for the piece, and I bombed. Like, I was just playing so many things wrong and learning it wrong, and she would just sit there and pick at me. And this was a teacher that I was with for 1 year, and we just did not click. But every time it kind of brings me back to some of the abuse I took for this piece. But that's how you learn.
Totally. And I reckon that was one of the pieces. I wasn't one of the first ones. I learned the chaminade first, and I was going to do the chaminade today, but I don't have the foot pedal, and I couldn't figure out how to go back into the theme and do the computer at the same time. So we did.
Some of us would like to see you try.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm gonna. Let's see. I think you're gonna come back in a little bit. I'm gonna talk about this Gershwinitis piece for a second here. All right. It's just so you know. Thank you. All right. So let's see. Gershwinitis. So you guys have to hear this one. Are you ready for alto flute? Sandy's favorite flute. This was written by Adrian Albert this summer, and it was part of a workshop by my good friend Jenny Brandon. And those of you who are Flute Friday fans, Jenny was my composer for my very first Flute Friday. I kind of blame this all on her. No, Jenny, thank you. Love you. And so Jenny put together this workshop for composers over the summer where they were composing for the solo instrument. And the first week was flute. So throughout this week, she had 6 composers, and they got to work with me, and they got to write pieces for me, and then I performed them all. You can find them on YouTube as well if you want to hear them all. But Adrian wrote this piece, Gershwinitis, and I wanted to play it for you today. Let's see here. I have a little bit of a note that I'm just going to read her performer's notes. Gershwinitis was conceived during a wonderful online flute class given by composer Jenny Brandon during the coronavirus lockdown in June of 2020. Hence the title Gershwinitis. Thinking about the myriad diseases that are occurring during this time, I use the term as a pun describing my personal disease shutdown. Gershwin's preludes that I learned early on as a piano student were among my favorite pieces to play. The opening of this flute solo mimics the opening phrase of Prelude Number 1. And she writes, as a young woman, I longed to be a jazz singer, and this piece reminds me of the smoky voices of June Christie and Peggy Lee. So, we have Gershwinitis. This is, I believe, the second time it's been performed. So, it was a world premiere a couple weeks ago, but here you go, Gershwinitis for alto flute by Adrian. fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Awesome. All right. It's always so weird. I'm still not weird to no applause at the end, but I see Sandy clapping for me, so that's nice. All right, I'm bringing you back, Sandy. Let's see, where are we? Bringing Sandy back. Here we go. There.
Oh, that was super cool.
Isn't that a cool piece?
That's a really cool piece.
Yeah. Did you notice my jazz improv in the middle there?
Oh, yeah. Now, didn't you, when you got your doctorate at USC, didn't you minor in improvisation or something? Was I not supposed to mention that?
Well, technically, one of my minor fields was jazz improv, or jazz perform. I don't know, something improv, jazz perform. I think jazz performance. Yes.
Awesome.
And I've always loved Latin music. I've always loved jazz music. I've never been very good at it. And Shelley Berg was my teacher for improv. And bless his heart, he was so patient with me. I had to buy a piano in order to pass that class because it was so hard. We had to do it was great. He's amazing. And we had to do all this stuff on the piano and all these chords and transpose all these, licks and everything. I have so much respect for jazz musicians. It's a whole nother art form that
it's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother thing. To be able to have something in your head and be able to speak it through your instrument is a whole nother talent. Yeah.
Some of my at Cal State Northridge, some of my students who had the best technique were actually jazz musicians, and there's one in particular I'm thinking of who planned on being a jazz major, but at the time you had to do 2 years of classical lessons. They don't do that anymore. And he decided to do 2 years of classical flute, and then he was going to switch as a doubler, and he decided to finish out the degree. But what was so interesting is he would play this long passage that I tend to think note by note and linear, and I'd say, that's really great, you're doing a really great job, and he'd stop and he'd say, oh, but did you see what he's doing here? And he could just analyze it harmonically. Jazz students they have to work so methodically and be able to do patterns in every single, not just key, but in strange chordal formations. Their technique is so much better sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Than ours. It's amazing. They're just amazing.
They are.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no. And of course, we had Dan Higgins here, who's fantastic at everything, jazz and classical. I don't know if he's still here, but I figured I would put that out there.
Dan, if you're still here, Dan is one of those players that, he's a doubler, but I almost don't like to think of him as a doubler. I think of him as a singular on each instrument. Sal Lozano is kind of like, he was on here earlier too. When they play flute, they don't sound like doublers. They sound like flutists.
No, it's scary.
They sound like incredible. They practice the right things. They practice moise, and they do everything that we do. So they sound like we do. It's amazing.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, would you like to talk about our final two pieces? This has been fun, but we're at about an hour, which is about all I think anybody wants to be online.
Well, you're the one that's in the hot seat.
Okay, I'm going to put you by yourself. You talk about I'm going to have another drink of water.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even know about these two pieces, so I will fake it.
No, you're fine. You don't have to, we're just going to talk about, tell them about the flute choir. Tell them what I'm doing.
Oh, in terms of the flute choir. Well, this is pretty amazing. So Jenny is, those of you who are thinking there's no way to play with anybody, all of Jenny's Flute Fridays are demonstrating how you can go onto YouTube and find amazing recordings that you can play along with. And Jenny has been working on flute choir arrangements so that you can go onto YouTube and play along with these flute choirs. And she has recordings where all the parts are there, and then some where a part is missing, so she can tell you about those. But she's kind of demonstrating some of those tonight. So if you are bored of playing by yourself, man, check out Jenny's stuff. There's a lot to do. Perfect. So tell us about these pieces.
Yeah, perfect. That was a perfect segue for me to catch my brain, which is what I was doing here. There's a lot going on. Okay, so I have taken Last Resort's Music for Four Flutes, Volume 2, and have recorded the entire collection and put them on YouTube. But you can hear them in two different ways. You can hear them as complete versions, and then you can also hear them minus the first flute part. And so you can play along. Everything I've done today you can do at home tonight, because I believe you can go on Last Resort Music and get a digital copy of the parts as well. So you can have it instantly and perform your own Flute Friday tonight. The whole book is up there. Usually what I'll do on the play along part is I'll play the first few measures of the first flute part, so you don't have to have any sort of click or anything to get into it. So you could actually do a concert and really enjoy it. So these last two pieces are the last two of the book that I finished recording this last week, and they're all up there. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds like there's a leaf blower outside, so that's always fun. Who's leaf blowing at 7 o'clock on a Friday? Anyways, okay, let me pull this one up here. Sorry. I'm getting more relaxed with these, that's for sure. It's very fun. I hope you're liking it. These pieces are nice little pieces. We have a piece by Barantel, and then I'll follow that shortly thereafter with Gallop, which you all know and love and be singing hopefully for the rest of the weekend. So here we go. Let's see that one. All right. Stopping by on your Friday. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I hope you've enjoyed all of this music. I'm going to finish off with Gallop from Orpheus in the Underworld, which I know you all know this one, and hopefully be singing it all weekend. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you, Sandy, for joining me, and we will see you guys hopefully soon. I might take a couple weeks off, but I'll be back. Don't worry, just keep looking for Facebook, and we'll do another Flute Friday soon. So here you go. everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.